Hello, today you and I have the opportunity to grow, improve, and dream about our future. Everything you want to become in life, you actually can, if you apply these leadership values to your everyday living. Before we get started, let's quickly review what you will need to complete this leadership class. One, you'll need a leadership handout, which looks just like the one on your screen. If you do not have one, please ask your teacher to give you one. There's a couple of things to know in regards to this handout. Anywhere that you see a circled number, that's where you will write your own ideas. During the class, we're going to have 59-second writing segments with music. During this time, you'll take that time designated to write your own ideas. I will also let you know when the music segments will take place. It's also very important for you to know that the action steps on this handouts is actually what you're going to use to follow through in reaching your dreams. These are the ideas that you determine that you need to apply to your own life in order to succeed and move towards your dream. Secondly, you also were given a journey form, which looks like the one on your screen. You will be given an opportunity at the end of class to answer 3 questions. Question number 1 is, what did I learn today? Question number 2, how will I apply what I learned today? And then question number 3 is, where am I in life today? What's going on in my own life that I need to really reflect on so that I can improve? So let's get started. On your screen, you're seeing the word leadership. What I want you to do, I want you to take the next 59 seconds and write down what you believe the definition of leadership is. You need to remember that today there's no right or wrong answers. We're all learning and growing together. So therefore, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word leadership? Write it down these next 59 seconds. Go. Great. By now, you wrote your own definition of what you believe leadership is. Today, we're going to focus on one of those definitions. If we look into the dictionary, there's many definitions, but our goal is to focus just on one, which is leadership is the ability to lead. Go ahead and fill that in your paper. Leadership, the ability to lead. Today, I'm not asking you to lead your country. I'm not asking you to lead your city, your school, or your home. I'm asking you to begin to lead you. If something great's going to happen in your life, it will happen when we begin to lead ourselves. So leadership is the ability to lead. All great leadership must have a starting point, and that starting point always starts with an individual. Sociologists say that even the most introverted, reserved person will influence at least 10,000 people in his or her lifetime. Think about that. What is an introvert? What is a reserved person? Well, the introverted person is that quiet person, is not the life of the party. You hardly ever even know that he's there. You might see that person walking in the hallways of your school. That person is quiet, timid, shy. There's so many things that define an introvert, but sociologists say that even that person could influence 10,000 people in their lifetime. Imagine what you could do if you began to lead you. So I will ask you a question. The question is, who has influenced you? Now, I want you to take just a second to think about what person involved in your personal life has influenced you. It can't be a famous rock star. It has to be somebody who's lived with you, somebody who's showed you about life. So I want you to take the next 59 seconds and I want you to write their name down. But not only are you going to write their name down, I also want you to write one thing that you admire about that person. So write the name down and one thing that you admire about that person during this next segment. Go. Now that you have identified that person, think about what that person has given you. Has that person given you money? Has he given you a $300,000 home? More than likely, that person has given you something from within, something that you cannot put a dollar value on. It is something that can only be given from a person that begins to lead themselves. So here's a challenge for you today. I would like for you to go back home today, call this person, and let them know that today you were in a Clay leadership class. And today you wrote down that they've been the biggest influence in your life. And this is the one thing that you admire about them. Because if leadership is the ability to lead, and today you begin by leading you, this is a step moving forward. Life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. Life is 10% of what happens to me, 90% of how I react to it. So think about this. What does that mean when you hear me say life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it? I remember one weekend I had a friend come by and he and his family spent the weekend with us. And on Friday night, we were talking about things that go on in life. Well, the next morning we wake up and we decided that we were going to go work out and swim with our kids and our wives. And as we get to the gym, I put my signal light so that I can turn into a parking space, but I noticed that there's a car that's partially blocking the parking space. I looked at the gentleman that was in the car, I smiled, and with my hand, I just waved, for him just to move on so that I could move and park in that parking space. Well, his reaction totally shocked me because he put his hands to his side of his face, he waved his hands, and he stuck out his tongue at me. Well, I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. I'm going, that can't be. So I just waited for a second, and my wife was sitting next to me, and she says, are you going to park? And I'm going, yeah, I'm about to park. So I look at him again, I wave at him, and his reaction is the same. He puts his hands on the side of his face, he waves at me with them, and then he sticks out his tongue at me again. And my wife says, did he just do what I think he did? Well, by that time, I was getting a little bit annoyed and upset, and I said, don't worry, honey, I'm going to take care of this. So I look at him again. This time I don't smile. I just wave at him for him to move his car out of the way, and he does it again. He waves his hands and he sticks out his tongue at me. And my daughter's sitting in the back seat and she says, Dad, that guy just stuck out his tongue at you. I told both my wife and my daughter, I'm going to take care of this. I looked at him again. I gave him kind of a mean look. And I waved one time for him to move his car. And he finally moved his car. I looked at them. I said, see, I told you I'd take care of this. I drove in the parking space. As I was getting out of the car, I could hear laughter in the background, and I'm thinking, it must be my friend who probably saw the whole thing. Well, when I look, it's that same guy. Now he's laughing at me. He's laughing at me in front of my wife, in front of my daughter. What an insult to a man. So what do? I start walking towards him. And when I begin to walk towards him, he sees me that I'm coming towards him, and he starts to walk away from me. And I start to say, hey, what are you walking away from? What's so funny? Do you think something was really funny? And as I'm getting closer to him, I feel the tension that's growing, and I stop myself, and I turn around, and I go back to my wife and my daughter. My daughter's anxiously waiting for me. She said, Dad, what were you going to do? I said, I don't know. Was he going to beat you up? I said, probably. She said, then why would you go? I said, I don't know. Because life is 10% of what happens to me, but 90% of how I react to it. See, I allowed the 10% that was going on around me to control my emotions and to control the way I were to act. I temporarily lost that control, but I stopped myself and I said, wait a minute. 90% is how I react to the situations. So what are things in your life that are going on right now that maybe that's that minimal 10% that control everything about you? When there's a 90% that's full of dreams, full of goals, full of desires to become something great in life, but that 10%, you allowed it to control you. I want you to remember this principle that life is 10% of what happens to you, but it's 90% how I react to it. The unchangeable truth. And this is what it reads. I will stir up my gift and will not fear to make the right choice in my life. I will act with courageous enthusiasm because I have the ability to accomplish my purpose in life. Go ahead and fill in the blank. I will stir up my gift and will not fear to make the right choice in my life. I will act with courageous enthusiasm because I have the ability to accomplish my purpose in life. Now let's break that down a little bit. What do you think it means to stir up your gift? Let's say that we're baking a cake. As we begin to bake a cake, we need flour, we need butter, we need sugar, we need eggs. Now, we have all these ingredients, and our oven is already set at 350 degrees. So what do we do with the cake? Do we just throw the ingredients in the pan and just throw the cake in there? Or do we begin to mix up those ingredients? If we begin to mix up the ingredients, which is the right thing to do, why do we need to mix up the ingredients? What a great question. Why can't we just throw the whole ingredients just the way it is inside the oven? Well, if we were to throw just the ingredients without mixing them, the cake's not going to taste very good. But when you begin to mix the ingredients, then all the ingredients begin to mix throughout your whole cake, and that gives it the great taste. Life is the same way. See, you're full of ingredients, you're full of gifts, but if you don't stir them up, nobody's going to do it for you. You need to begin to stir up those gifts that are in you, those abilities, the talent that's in you, the desire to do something great in life. You can have the desire, you can think about it, but if you do not act, if you do not stir up those gifts, it will never happen. What does it mean not to fear? If you're like me, many times I feared about what people would think about me if I started living towards my dreams. Or what would my family say if I started walking towards my dreams? What would my friends say? Or the fear of failing at reaching my goal or my dreams. Great leaders begin to lead themselves. Do not allow that 10% to control them, and they begin to stir their gifts. So don't fear to stir up your gifts. But here's another important thing: courageous enthusiasm. To act with courageous enthusiasm simply means that it's going to take all your strengths, everything that you are, to accomplish your dreams. So you will stir up your gift, You will not fear, and you will act with courageous enthusiasm. Why? Because you have the ability to accomplish your purpose in life. Remember that no one can stir up your gifts for you. No one can take the step for you. You must take the step for yourself. So today I encourage you, as we get down to the segment of the action steps, I want you to write down 3 things that you will start to work on that apply to your gifts. Or maybe apply to the 10%, 90% rule. What are things in life that are happening right now that have controlled your decision-making process? And which gifts and talents do you need to activate in your personal life? I'm going to give you 59 seconds once again to write down those 3 things that you need to start working on. Go. Great. By now, you've written the 3 things that you need to work on. Now, here's the important thing. I didn't tell you what those needs are in your life. You identified 3 areas that need to improve, and you're the only one that can stir those things up and move forward towards your dreams. So therefore, I'm going to challenge you that in the next 10 days, you begin to work towards those. Whatever those 3 are, you begin to apply them in your life, because those are the ones that are going to change the game in your life. If you want to reach your goals, you want to reach your dreams, you want to do great things in life, begin applying what you just wrote as action steps. Now let's go now to our journey form. Here's where you're going to answer 3 questions. What did you learn about leadership? I want you to write it down. Question number 2, how will I apply what I learned about leadership today? What am I going to do with the information that I just acquired? And then question number 3, where am I today? What's going on in my life? What's really happening in my life? And how can I improve? So we're going to give you once again another writing segment with music so that you can answer these questions. Go. Great. I want to congratulate you because you have completed a leadership lesson. Now what I would like you to do is I would like you to take those 2 forms and go and hand them to your teacher as you dialogue with him and talk to him or her about the things that you learned today and things that you want to apply in your life. I want to encourage you to move towards your dreams and don't give up.